Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of It Starts With Action. Today I am super grateful to get to talk to Arnon, and from what I heard that you've become a millionaire by 28, which is not a normal situation, but your story is also very unique, and I'm very grateful to get to talk to you today. So I was wondering if we could start off with your story, your background, because you're a serial entrepreneur and you started when you were 11. From what I heard, selling toys. So it'll be super interesting to hear about that.
Sure. So first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. And I really hope that in the short time that we have together, that I can add some value to the listeners and to all the awesome people who tune in and plug in to get some meat and potato values. So again, I'm honored and humbled to be here. So as you mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I did relatively well for myself at a young age, which was abnormal. To become financially free, build and sell my first company, and achieve that by the age of 28 is not a natural feat. But I started indeed my first little business at the age of 11. Short and sweet, I had an uncle at the time living in South Africa who owned a toy store. And I remember my late father would take me to visit my uncle in his toy store, once a month, once every, 6 weeks or so. And he would just visit my uncle, and they would talk, and they would, just connect. And my dad would allow me to obviously roam around the toy store, which was like Christmas for me. Every day was Christmas when I went to the toy store. And he allowed me to, choose a toy. And obviously he worked that out with my uncle, whether he paid for it or not. That was a different discussion. I didn't really care. I was 11 years old. But I used to go to the toy store and I used to roam around, and I loved it. And I always walked out with a toy, and it was just Christmas. It was just fun. And that happened repetitively. And as a kid, I remember myself being very observant, very curious. That's how kids are. They pay attention to things that most adults miss. And one of the things that I noticed every time we would visit my uncle's toy store is that my uncle always seemed depressed. He always seemed sad. He always seemed beaten up. And he always had this sad, low energy around him. Mm-hmm. And I noticed it again and again and again. And what I realized, my conclusion by witnessing this and watching my uncle, over a few months and several visits to the toy store, I noticed that one of the reasons he was in a downward energy, in a low energy, was because he was waiting for students, waiting for children, waiting for kids to come to his shop and buy the toys. And, you can imagine, if you own a toy store or a shop or any form of retail, you want to be trading. You want to be hitting that till, collecting the money and exchanging it with goods. But that wasn't the case. And so I noticed my uncle for months, he was always kind of in a depressive energy, if you will. And I realized that he was actually waiting for children to come and buy the toys. And I thought to myself, naively, 11 years old, curious as heck, I thought to myself, what a stupid idea it is to sit in a shop all day and wait for the children to come to the shop. Let's take the shop to the children. And so instead of buying one toy for myself and enjoying it for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, I would buy a box of toys and I would head over to where all the kids were at school, and I would start to sell. And that's what I did. And I built up a really nice chain and selling toys for several months at school. And I had a great time. So I was buying them relatively cheap from my uncle at a really good price. And then I would come to school and I would obviously sell it at a 30, 40, 50% margin on top. And there was a period of time when I was at school that I actually had sold so much. I was unofficially the richest kid in school. What had happened over a short period of time, once the teachers and the government, the teachers saw what I was doing, I kind of got shut down and my business was closed. But it was an incredible journey, and it was my first real entrepreneurial endeavor that I experienced and with the concept of buying for one and selling for two. And that's kind of where my journey started. So yeah.
And like you've done so many different things. How was that journey for you? And also you like lived in different countries.
Yeah, so like, yeah, I've been involved in many different projects. Weirdly enough, from owning retail stores later on in my early 20s, which I later went on to sell, to owning a nightclub in Holland, in Amsterdam, which I also eventually exited and stepped out of that project as well, to owning different properties, real estate investments. But it really, one of the key things that I can say that I took out of that experience was the importance of being able to communicate and sell, and on top of that, being enthusiastic about your product or service.
Selling is scary.
Was that?
Selling is scary. You know.
Yeah, well, that's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I learned, is that a lot of people walk around with that mindset of selling is scary. You know, we don't like the big S. We're afraid of the big S word. Ooh, selling, not for me. But I always say, psychologically and from a mindset perspective, a lot of people struggle with that idea or that word selling. So instead of going out and selling something, how about caring? Change the energy around the word. Instead of saying I'm going to sell something, how about I'm going to add value? Or how about I'm going to educate? Or I'm just going to, you know, share, teach, inform. And I found that really helped me at a young age, because a lot of people, when they hear the word selling, after they engage with that concept of selling, they want to take a shower. And it holds a lot of people back. And the reality is, sales is the lifeblood of every organization. And the way I look at it is that sales equals income. Income equals lifestyle. So everybody wants a great lifestyle, but nobody wants to sell. Everybody wants to have a big fire, but nobody wants to put in the wood.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. So one of the things I can say, because you said selling is scary, is what we got to do is just change the mindset around that language. Because whatever we repeat, we become.
Yeah.
And so if anyone says, "Oh, selling is scary. I hate selling. I hate selling. I hate selling," guess what will happen when you need to sell? It will feel scary, and we will hate it. So, but I can relate. I was there as well.
What would you say was the biggest limiting belief you had that you had to get over?
I think it's one that is a constant. Always to remind myself that I am good enough, that I can do this. And if I put my mind behind something and I surround myself with the right people, the right environment, read the right books, go to the right seminars, engage with the right people, and, you know, create a space with the right energy, that I am deserving and that I am good enough. So at every phase, whenever you're playing a game, you know, when I was a young kid, the game that I was playing at 11 years old, you know, I had a box of toys. My game was, well, I just want to sell these 20, 30 toys that I bought. And then as I grew older and I started building my first multi-million dollar, my first multi-million euro, my first multi-million pound companies, is the mindset was still there. It was just a bigger game. And so it's a constant, always reminding myself that I am good enough, I am strong enough, and I can handle it. No matter what the universe throws at me, I can handle it. And that's what I love about also surrounding myself with the right kind of people. I find that you can bring a problem, a challenge, an obstacle to my table, anything. And the first thing that my mind does is say, who do I need to call? Who do I need to set up a meeting with? What books do I need to read? And what seminars do I need to take to overcome this challenge, overcome this obstacle? And so for me, it's a constant, is just to remind myself that I am good enough. And I know that having students, I've had the blessing to teach well over 110, maybe 120,000 students from over 65 different countries in the last 7-8 years. And if you break down human behavior and the human psyche, we all struggle with probably the top 3, top 5 limiting beliefs. They're all pretty much the same. And one of them is considering and thinking, I am not good enough. And so, yeah, just gotta go to battle with that mindset every day, and find peace in it as well. Yeah.
Can you share the other ones that were like the key ones?
Yeah,
Notice?
sure. So, yeah, so one of them is I'm not good enough, right? Another one is that shows up again. We see this all the time. Is with I am not good enough comes secondary beliefs like, why should anyone buy from me, or why should anyone listen to me, or why would anyone hire me, or why would anyone want to meet me or talk with me. But it all stems from that same place. Am I good enough, or I'm not good enough? The other limiting beliefs are, you know, we pick up so many negative stories growing up as kids. Parents say, sit down, be quiet, do your homework, or at school we hear that all the time, right? Our teachers would say to us, don't cheat, don't look at your neighbor, don't, do the test on your own. And so we grow up thinking that in the real world, we've got to do it on our own. And it's a limiting belief. And if you look at the most successful people on the planet, the wealthiest people on the planet, they actually have businesses that hire and have, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. Basically, that business owner is saying, I don't know shit. I need a lot of help. That's why I need to hire a lot of people. And so it's kind of counterintuitive. And again, at school, when we're doing a test and, we look at the neighbor for an answer, it's called cheating. But if we do it in the real life, if we don't talk to our neighbor, if we don't find out what other people are doing, we go bankrupt. And so the schooling system has created more broke people than any other system. It's created more debt than any other system. And the crazy thing is, here's the next crazy thing. Any question that school has to ask, a 12-year-old kid could answer with a smartphone.
Exactly.
So it's an old age system that is trying to evolve and work in a new age world, and it's struggling. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things evolve over the years. But again, one of the limiting beliefs is, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I can't speak to my neighbor. I can't ask for help. And it holds people back. Even worse, it anchors them down and stops them from stepping into their power and being able to achieve all that they want to achieve. Yeah.
Like how can we step out of that and get into like action mode? Because is just telling yourself consistently enough?
So a couple of things that I believe that have tremendously helped me on my journey with my students, wherever I'm teaching around the world. A couple of very important things. Number one, who you spend time with. Who you spending time with. You got to surround yourself with winners. You got to surround yourself with champions. You got to surround yourself with can-do attitude people. It is so critical. There's a famous saying, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So it's really important. Surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up rather than keep you down. That's number one. And by the way, people say, Arnon, but I don't have any great people around me. I don't have any champions or winners around me. And I found myself at a young age in the same situation. All the great, I wanted to change my environment desperately. And I couldn't find leaders. I couldn't find people that would add tremendous value to my life and that I could learn from as a student. And so instead of engaging physically, I started to read the books. And I read the books that changed my life. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. So there were a few books that I started surrounding myself with and reading more about. And the authors and the teachings became my new friends and my new ways of thinking. So the first thing is who you spend time with. Your environment is so important. Surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up rather than keep you down. That's the first thing. The second thing is sport. Move your body. Change your energy. You need an energy shift. One of my teachers, Tony Robbins, he talks about this all the time. Tony says, listen, if you want to improve your psychology, move to improve your physiology. So in other words, move your body, shift your body, go for a run, go for a walk, jump on the bicycle, hit the gym, go for a swim, play football, do something that's going to shift your vibration. A lot of people, their vibration is very low. What we got to do is raise our energy. So the first thing is surround yourself with better people. Second thing is work out, move your body, shift your vibration. It's really important. And number three is education. Oh my goodness. It's, pick up the book, go to the seminar, take the online course, it's so critical. Human beings can only do what they know. You can't wake up in the morning and say, today, I am going to do everything that I don't know.
That's so true.
What? That doesn't make any sense. So automatically we are limited with our capacities based on our ability to perform, considering the knowledge we have. And so if we want to act and achieve more, we need to educate ourselves more. We can only do something we know. And so a lot of people, they want the success, they want the happiness, they want the joy, they want the relationship, they want the love, they want the connection, they want that world, they want that, but they're not willing to pick up the book. They're not willing to educate themselves. They're not willing to get the coach, go to the training. And it's self-imposed, debilitating way of thinking and acting. And as a result, because they don't have the knowledge and they haven't educated themselves, that leads to the next thing: they don't act. We live in the world of cause and effect. We have an inner world, we have an outer world. A lot of people on the inside, right? They are blossoming. They've got ideas and they've got ways to create, and they know how to, get fit, get healthy, create a dream relationship. They know how to make money. But on the outside, nothing is happening. There's nothing happening on the outside world. It's only happening from the inside. And the reason that is because there's a connection between the inner world and the outer world. And so they're blossoming inside. Their inner world is sunshine, but the outer world is freezing. And the reason that is because there's a bridge that connects the outer world to the inner world. And that bridge is called action. Most people's bridge is broken. And as a result, they struggle. And so I always say, and I talk about this in my books, I talk about this in my seminars, I teach this in my algorithm for success, which is an exclusive algorithm on how to win the business game, how to win the game of life. And one of the keys there, if you look at the most successful people on the planet, that they're all action takers. The greatest treasures on planet Earth are reserved for the action takers. Very critical. So the fourth point is, simply said, most people don't take massive, focused, concentrated action. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Have you ever struggled to take action on something? What was the hardest thing that you had to take action on that you didn't want to, but you did it at the end, and how did it end up?
Well, the first thing, okay, so the answer is absolutely. I'm human like everyone else. We all
Yeah.
have our own doubts and fears and concerns. It's very interesting when you asked that question, something came up for me, and it was jumping out of an airplane. Yeah, so doing a skydive,
Yeah.
a tandem skydive. It was something that was a fear. It was something that I didn't want to act on. But you know, one of my teachers always says, if you can't, you must. If you can't, then you must. And this is about 7 years ago, something like that. I decided we jumped out of a plane, and I jumped out of a plane, obviously with a parachute. And but there was a moment, there was a lot of fear. And funnily enough, that was about 7 years ago when I jumped the first time. And last year, I did another skydive for the second time. And it was very interesting. But there was definitely that energy and that mindset of fear. But, as our great Susan Jeffers wrote in her book, feel the fear, do it anyway. So, yeah. So that was
How was
definitely amazing.
how was it like the second time then doing it?
The second time was obviously less fearful, but it, because I've only done it twice. There was still an energy of fear and concern there, of course, but this time was more relaxed, more centered, and yeah, more fun actually, more fun. Yeah, highly recommend. Yeah, and by the way, I always recommend people to do something extreme, to do something out of the box. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling that you need an energy shift. And I'll tell you this, if you're mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially stuck in a rut and you don't know how to get out of it, jump out of a plane. Get a parachute on your back or jump with someone connected to you, jump out of a plane, because when you're dropping at 200, 220 kilometers an hour from 15,000, 16,000, 17,000 feet, that will shake and wake up your nervous system. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. We need our nervous system to be woken up. And so a lot of my coaching clients that I work with them, and these are top thought leaders in the world. I mean, top entrepreneurs doing massive things in the business world. And they coach with me. They're my students, they're my clients, and I advise them. At one point, if I feel they're too stuck, if they're not able to break through to their next level, I always say, listen, go jump out of a plane with the parachute, of course, but go do it, because it's going to give you such a powerful emotional shift that nothing else will give it to you. And I'm very grateful that they trust me to very high levels, and they do it, and they come back all energized and excited. There is a moment that their wives don't like me, and they don't really appreciate my feedback or my ideas, but they understand where I come from. So yeah. So that was definitely something that created fear for me.
My university has a skydive society where they do it occasionally, I think. Might need to join that one then.
Highly recommend it. And especially if you have fear around it. Is that something you fear? Is that something that's not for me?
Just the fear of, I guess, death in general. I think I can't even do roller coasters. So skydive is like even bigger. Just that.
Yeah. And so what it boils down to, and you talk about limiting beliefs. One limiting belief that I didn't mention, which is obvious, and it's coming up right here, right now, and it shows up in everybody's life at a different level, at a different degree. One of the biggest limiting beliefs that I see that shows up again and again is not trusting yourself, not trusting myself.
That is a big one.
Yeah, it's a massive one, and I see it hold so many people back. It's held me back in the past, where you're just not trusting yourself, not trusting your own power, not trusting your own abilities, not trusting your own gifts. And that's the moment where you literally got to stop. By the way, are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about being your genuine self.
I love it. So when that fear comes up and you know, you don't trust yourself and there's fear, that's the moment where you got to say, fuck it, and just go for it. Doubt is one of the greatest success killers that exist. Doubt. Now, if you think of that word, doubt, if you spell that word out, if all the listeners right now were to get pen and paper and you were to write the word doubt. So if you write out the word doubt, yeah, it's D-O-U-B-T, doubt. Doubt is a tremendous success killer. But here's the key. The answer to overcoming doubt is in the problem itself. It's in the obstacle itself. It's in the word itself. So when there's doubt, the secret to overcome that is D-O. Do.
Action.
And so, exactly, it goes back to action. Exactly. And that's why I'm so honored and humbled to be here and to share these insights and answer these questions and potentially share some golden nuggets to all your listeners and everyone that's connecting to this podcast. Because, you know, we all have doubt, we all have fear, we all at some point in some time didn't trust ourselves. And the secret is just to do. And yeah, that's the moment where you just got to say, fuck it, and go for it. You know, a lot of people have a dream. They have a target. They have something they want to achieve. And what they tend to do when they see that the jump or the goal that they want to go after, it's such a big ask. It's such a big task. It's such a big goal. And it requires so much patience and time and energy. And what do they naturally do? A lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people, what do? They start lowering their goal and lowering the target and lowering the goal. And one of the things that I've come to understand, again, having taught and trained on some of the biggest stages in the world, my classrooms range sometimes from just a few hundred people, but I've taught on stages as big as 3,500 people. And I've been very blessed. But one of the key things is instead of lowering your target, the secret is actually to increase the activity. Increase the activity. That's going to help you close the gap from obviously where you are to where you want to be. Yeah.
Did you envision yourself as like an international speaker to so many people?
Only in my later years. So only in the last 10 years. Before that, I was preoccupied with other businesses and doing other things. But once I'd made a substantial amount of money, let's say more than the average person, then I started to ask questions. And it was the questions that led me to the path of teaching and training and speaking and inspiring and serving other people. For many years, I was running after the money. I came from a very, very middle-class family. And in fact, my father left when I was a young kid. So I dropped out of school. I dropped out of school. I became the man of the house, being the eldest. And so for many years, I grew up in a family that food wasn't always, there. We used to receive charity in the form of food. And I realized at a young age, I had subconsciously programmed myself to the mindset that I believed and wanted, desired, probably is a better word, desired never to live like this again. And I made a commitment that I will do whatever it takes to win legally, morally, and ethically and create financial success for myself. And that's what that pain pushed me to achieve my financial freedom at the age of 28, which is abnormal if you think about it. But it wasn't because I was motivated in a good way. I had so much tremendous pain from the past. that actually pushed me. But, you know, when I made some money and my bank account started to fill up, that's when I started to ask some real questions. So what is it all about? And, you know, you get excited when you look at a bank account with a few zeros, several zeros in it. You get excited about that, probably for a couple of minutes, maybe a couple of hours. But for me, very quickly, the question turned into, now what? Now what? And so because I had that tough background and I grew up with, you know, I didn't have a mommy or daddy who gave me a head start in life. I wish I did, but I wasn't the case. And so my mindset was, holy shit, if I could do this, anyone can do this. And so my path started to push me towards teaching and training and coaching and speaking, inspiring and sharing, and giving people a hug when they needed it and kicking people up their ass when they deserved it. Whatever I could do to get them to move in the direction that they desired. In other words, to take action.
So for us young people who have probably less than 3 digits in a bank account, what advice would you have for us in terms of wealth and money mindset from everything that, well, not everything, like anything that you wish you knew when you were 20?
The first thing I'll say to all my young listeners out there is to understand that you have time. You have time. I recently, you know, I have a lot of young people that contact me, and there's a young man that he's, you know, around 18 years old and so impatient to start investing and buying property and achieve financial freedom and, you know, have that kind of lifestyle. And he's invested a lot of time and energy in reading and taking courses and seminars. And what's important to understand is that you have time. Of course, you want to take action on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. But at that young age, to put unnecessary pressure on yourself is not going to serve anyone, especially not you. And so, you know, to all the young listeners out there, the first piece of advice I can give you is, listen, first of all, understand that you have time. I mean, while we're recording this podcast, I am a young man of 41 years old, and I know that the best is still in front of me and not behind me. And so it's really important to understand that you got to be kind to yourself and you got to be patient with yourself. They say that the journey of an entrepreneur looks like this. From the age of 20 to 30, we make all the mistakes. From the age of 30 to 40, we're cleaning up all the mistakes we made when we were 20 to 30. From 40 to 50, we start to reap all the rewards from all the work we put in from 30 to 40. And then from 50 plus, that's where we just enjoy life and everything is great. So understand that you're going to fuck it up. You're going to make mistakes, and that is totally okay. If I can give my friends, my listeners, all the young people listening to this podcast right now, I'll say one thing. Get an internship. Work under someone that has tremendous amounts of success that either you want to emulate in your life or in an area of business or a space that you were excited about or passionate about. One of the best ways to learn is just to model other successful people. And, you know, when people come to a job and they say, well, how much will I earn? That's the worst question you can ask. A better question is, how much will I learn? Because that learning and that education on the job, on the spot, in the space that you want to master is critical. Being an intern, being under mentorship from a master is such a forgotten art. Everybody is all about the payday here and now. And short-term gratification is really, really bad. Yeah. So that's a piece of advice I share with everyone.
Are you opening to any intern applications?
Always, of course. If people have, you know, what it takes and the energy and I'm always looking for good people. I always tell everyone that I coach, we're always hiring. We're always hiring good people, people with integrity, people with honesty, people that have got a desire, people that have a commitment. And that's one of the secrets to success. I always say to people, I never hire for skill or talent, because skill and talent can always be taught. You can always teach skill and talent. What you can't train is attitude, is mindset. Mindset you can adopt, but attitude is difficult. Some people just have a bad attitude. And so I rather hire someone with a great attitude who might not have the best skill and talent, but that's something we can train. That's something we can work on. That's something we can improve. If you rely solely on skill and talent, you'll lose the game.
Mm.
Hard work, commitment, showing up, taking action, that's what wins the game, not skill and talent. There's singers, there's performers, there's actors, there's speakers, there's so many people that have more skill and talent than the famous people that we see on stages and in the movies. But one thing, if you want to win in the game of life today, you've got to outwork. You can't rely on skill and talent. And if you think about it, the only place that success happens before work, the only place where success happens before work is in the dictionary. And so that's why you've got to put in the work. You've got to show up. Very important. Yeah.
Kind of got me thinking, I know there's a difference, right? What's the difference in mindset and attitude? Dumb question.
So it's a really good question. And, I've been asked that in the past. And for me, attitude is it's also an energy thing. Because sometimes have you ever been in a situation where someone's walked into a room and they're just reeking negative energy? It's like,
Yes.
like, oh, stay away from me.
Yeah.
And that is a part of an attitude, is how people carry themselves, how they move around, how they vibe almost, right? We move in frequencies, and we've got some good frequencies that empower us and, make us attractive. And we got vibrations that actually put people off and they don't want to be around us. And so, listen, an attitude that I look for specifically in my business and in my businesses is someone who might not know how to do something, but is willing to learn, willing to educate themselves, willing to read the book, willing to go to the seminar. We do a test. When we're hiring people, we tend to ask them to come to an interview at ridiculous moments. I've done interviews on Christmas Day.
I used to work on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I do interviews on Christmas Day. If I know a person's birthday is around the corner, I'll ask them, let's do an interview. Let's do an interview on your birthday. Let's meet up for coffee and let's talk about the role that I'm offering. Because that's attitude. Attitude is to do what other people won't do. Yeah. Especially when it's easier to step out of it. And so that's an attitude, a can-do attitude, a must-show-up attitude, a win whatever it takes, as long as it's morally, legally, and ethically right attitude. That's the attitudes we're looking for. Mindset is a little bit, how do you see the world? Is it doom and gloom, or is there, we're going through a pandemic right now, right? Global economy is suffering. People are scratching their heads trying to figure this situation out. A lot of business owners, business leaders like myself and people that I train and work with, they're pivoting their business. They're looking to change and reinvent themselves because their old business model just doesn't match the new world we're living in at this moment. So a mindset is I think it's a greater picture, where an attitude is here and now, more here and now. They live together. I mean, you could argue the difference between a mindset and an attitude. For me personally, I always hire attitude and train skill and talent. Because if you've got the right attitude, you can learn any skill, you can learn any attitude. You can learn any skill or talent with the right attitude. And so for me, that's really critical. I look for attitude before anything. We do, like I said, the buffoon test. Let's meet at 2 a.m. in the morning. Let's meet at 10 p.m. at night. Let's, meet in ridiculous locations. The person lives in London. Okay, let's meet in Sweden. Let's meet in Germany. And I'm doing that on purpose because one of my teachers, a great teacher, and you read his book, T. Harv Eker. He wrote the book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he says, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I'm really curious to see how people do things.
It's fun. So a question I ask every guest is, what does their next best version of themselves look like, and how do they plan to take action to get there?
Okay. So, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is that every question we have, there's an answer. And there's an answer, especially in what I call the books. So when I'm working with a person, if I want them to be 12 times better, 12 times more powerful, 12 times more sophisticated, 12 times more influential, 12 times more aware, 12 times more skilled, 12 times more talented, the answer is simple. If you want to become 12 times more powerful than your older version self, you want the caterpillar to turn into the butterfly. If you want to become 12 times stronger, master. Don't read, don't study, master. One book a month. Just one book a month. If you master one book a month for a period of 12 months, by the end of those 12 months, by mastering those 12 books, whatever they are, whatever niche, whatever area you want to be a master in, you study, you chew, you swallow, you master those 12 books, one book a month, which is not that much. By the end of those 12 months, you will become 12 times more powerful, 12 times better off. And so it's always, people overestimate what they can do in a day, but they underestimate what they can achieve in a year. Success is not measured in days or weeks or months. Success is measured in decades. A lot of people, why do most people struggle? Is because a lot of people are jumping in and out of opportunities. So they get involved in an opportunity and they get excited and they run. And then after 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, they're like, this is not for me.
That's me with musical instruments.
Yeah, jumping from chair to chair, right? And so what I've seen, having trained some of the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet and having learned from some amazing teachers that have walked on the planet, one of the key things, the winners, the champions, what they do is they go for mastery. They want to dominate. They don't want to dabble. A lot of people dabble. We don't want to dabble. We want to dominate. And to dominate, you've got to become masterful. And that's why it's important to stick to the course. Stay in line, stay in the game that you focused on. And that's why I said earlier, a lot of entrepreneurs from the age of 20 to 30, they make all the mistakes because that's where they're testing. That's where they're trying. That's where they're figuring themselves out. They're trying to discover, what is their passion? What do they like? What they don't like? And that takes time. And then from 30 to 40, that's where they're cleaning up all the mess they made from 20 to 30. And then from 40 to 50, that's where we start to reap the rewards from all the labor, all the hard work, all the smart work that we put in. And so really, really important to grasp that idea. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you and to our listeners, but it's really important. Just go for mastery. Go for mastery. Yeah, so important.
Yeah, because I have a friend who said that there's no point reading any book unless you take action on it. Then I have friends who just read, they say most entrepreneurs read all the books in the world, one book a day or a week. So your point is very new and very valid.
And so one of the things that I see, if you were to read 5 books in a row in a period of 2 weeks, and I said to you, tell me about the first book that you read and what did you learn? What was the biggest insights and what actions are you going to take from that book? Most people won't even remember the book they read.
Mm.
Because when you compile a book on a book on a book, it's like watching 3 movies in a row. If we do a marathon of movies on a Saturday, right? And we watch a movie and then another movie and another movie. And then I say to you, remind me what happened in the first movie. What was it all about? You'll be like, what was the first movie? I don't remember. And so one of the illusions that people have is they've actually got to learn more. Pile up the books. Oh, I got to read, there's 365 days in a year. I got to read 365 books. Bullshit. I rather you master 12 books and act on them. Take massive, concentrated, focused action, implementing the lessons, the aha moments, the insights. Again, action. The name of the game is action. Very simple.
It starts with action.
The name of the game is action. You can't hope yourself into wealth. You can't hope yourself into great health. You can't hope yourself into a great relationship. You can't hope yourself into finding love. At one point in time, you got to get up for your ass and take massive freaking action. So totally on board with that ideology. And so master a book a month. Act on it. Implement the aha moments, implement the insights, implement the lessons. You do that over a 12-month period, 12 different books, empowering books, you see how your life transforms. But a lot of people, again, they don't have the stamina to stay in line for 1 year. They want results yesterday. And that's not how the universe works. And it's counterintuitive because the way we've been programmed today, if we want a new pair of shoes, right? If we want a new shirt, what do? We pick up our smartphone, we open it up, and in 3 clicks, we have a new pair of shoes being delivered to our home tomorrow. Yeah. So our natural ability to be patient and to stay in the game and to go for mastery is being suppressed and being trained out of us, because everything today is about speed. Everybody wants speed. Yeah. And if you turn on your computer and it takes less than 60 seconds to fire up, we get frustrated. If we order a book online and it's only going to arrive next week, we get pissed off. I want it tomorrow. And so then you come to an entrepreneur and you say, listen, you're going to have to take action, but you're only going to reap the rewards in 6, 12, 18, 24, 36 months from now. That's where the frustration starts to happen. And so the key is to take action, but not to be attached to the outcome for at least 1, 2, 3 years. Because the magic's not going to happen immediately. It takes time for the universe to make manifest what you want to manifest, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you believe in the law of attraction?
Absolutely. But the law of attraction, one of the biggest things about law of attraction is the law of attraction is not enough. It's action. Law of attraction plus action equals, results, whatever you want. And so that's really, really critical. Like I said, you can't hope yourself into a great relationship. You can't hope yourself into creating wealth or creating happiness or creating a great body. You can't hope. Opium is a dangerous drug. At one point, you're going to have to take massive, concentrated, focused action.
So what is something that you are going to take action next?
So one of the things that I'm working on right now, which is really exciting, I'm putting together a program, an online program. And we're recording some amazing videos with rich content. This is content that I've used. It's exclusive and rare information that I've pulled out of my live trainings and I've compiled it into an online program. And we're finishing up the program. We're dusting it off. We're doing some really cool video editing and just putting the pieces of the final puzzle together. And so it still requires a little bit more action. And that's one of my main focuses for the next coming days / coming weeks. Yeah.
Exciting. So a final question I ask everyone again is, what challenge do you have to listeners to take action on? It can be anything.
Yeah. So if I were to propose a challenge for the listeners hearing my voice, watching this, I would say do the uncomfortable. Very simply, do the uncomfortable. Your capacity to grow, your capacity to achieve success, your capacity to be a bigger player, a better player, will be proportionate to your ability to get uncomfortable. A lot of people are not willing to get uncomfortable. The moment it gets uncomfortable, what do? They retreat, they back off. And I'm sure you've heard the cheesy saying, all the magic happens outside of your comfort zone, right? But the reality is, today, I seek opportunities to become perturbed, which is uncomfortable from a scientific perspective. I want my body to shake. I want my body to shiver. I want, like, holy shit, I don't want to do this. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Because the more I can push myself out of my comfort zone and step out of that comfort zone, get out of my fear zone, the faster I can move into my success zone. So to all the listeners today, the challenge I have, when you're facing a challenge, when you're facing an obstacle, when you are facing fear, go through it. You're going to discover that it wasn't as fearful. And the upside is you're going to become a bigger person. The bigger you are, the more wealth you can hold. The bigger you are, the more happiness you can hold. The bigger you are, the more love, the more connection you can hold. If you're a big container, you can hold big gifts. If you're a small container, you can hold small gifts. So become a bigger version of yourself.
Scary, but you have to do it.
Get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable. So everyone choose one thing to get uncomfortable with, and after listening to this episode, go and do it. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. And oh yeah, how can people find you? Forgot an important question.
Thank you. I'm very easy to find. You can find me on Facebook. My Facebook handle is Arnon Barnes, and my website, arnonbarnes.com, Instagram, Arnon Barnes, one word, LinkedIn, Arnon Barnes. Yeah, I'm very easy to find. Just Google Arnon Barnes, and I'd love to connect with your audience and hear what they have to say. And yeah, I'm here to serve. Once I've achieved my financial freedom, once I became successful, and money was no longer an issue in my life, I realized that my highest purpose was to serve others. And I hope that all the listeners can reach that place where they understand that we are actually all servants and here to add value and bring our gifts to the marketplace and to the world. And it's a really cool concept to perceive and to pursue. So yeah, Arnon Barnes, easy to find, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over the place.
Reach out to Arnon, and until next time, guys.